But let's first discuss the huge news of the day. And that is that Mikhailo Mudryk has provided a positive doping sample, as confirmed by Chelsea and by Mudryk himself, and it could result in a 4-year ban. We are going to speak to Ben Jacobs about this and get his thoughts, and so we can understand maybe a little bit more. But first of all, guys, I mean, where were you when you heard this? Because I got the biggest shock when I woke up this morning.
No, last night, obviously I was doing the sports bar on talkSPORT last night, and when I got in, it was all over social media. A couple of my Chelsea mates messaged me, and the more digging you went, it did feel as though this was just more than rumours. You know what social media can be like? It can be a terrifying place with rumours. And then when I woke up this morning, there was some more official accounts coming out, but it broke from Ukraine, from what I understand. I know the story by some friends of mine in the media. They knew the story yesterday, so they knew this was about. But when it broke from Ukraine, and unfortunately, it will appear, if the second sample is proved to be positive, this is going to be a very tricky situation for everyone, I'm afraid.
I mean, Matisse, what were your thoughts when you saw this? Because, like Jason says, I mean, it was a big shock for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously had Paul Pogba recently in the football space with the similar type situation. And the first thing you're thinking is, first of all, I hope it's fake, because obviously when I first saw it, there was no official confirmation from the Chelsea, from Mudryk and obviously media outlets. But once that confirmation comes out, you really are thinking now that second sample, B, is going to be pivotal to his Chelsea career, because it really could be over in a matter of days.
I mean, pivotal to his career in general,
yeah.
I think, not even just his career at Chelsea. Right, talkSPORT reporter Ben Jacobs joins us now and can give us a little bit more detail on this. Ben, reports in Ukraine are saying he took meldonium while on international duty with Ukraine. Can you first of all just tell us or update us a little bit more on this situation, just so we can understand where we're currently at?
Yeah, Olivia, the substance in question was meldonium, and it was a positive test on an A sample. Mudryk was on international duty, so this didn't happen on Chelsea's watch. And now there is a B sample test, which is expected to come back in a matter of days or weeks. And if the A and B samples are both positive, then Mikhailo Mudryk will be formally charged. He'll then have the ability, of course, to appeal, but there will be a punishment in place, a suspension of up to 4 years, which is what Paul Pogba originally got. As of now, because the A test is positive and the B test is still ongoing, the FA, who have jurisdiction, have put Mikhailo Mudryk under a provisional suspension, and that means he cannot play for Chelsea, and also he cannot train at Cobham.
Ben, we know Maria Sharapova took the same drug as well. Anyone else in football, other than Pogba, and what kind of ban are you expecting?
Pogba's the main one, a 4-year ban, which ended up getting reduced significantly at the Court of Arbitration for Sport to 18 months. And then Maria Sharapova is an interesting one because, again, it's a like-for-like substance, meldonium. She originally got a 2-year ban, and that was reduced at CAS to 15 months. So what we see is a sliding scale, and what will help Mudryk's cause in terms of the severity of punishment is he also took a test in August and was clean. So in terms of how long could this substance, if it is deemed to be intentionally in his system, have been there, we can say in August he was clean, but in late October there was a positive A test, and therefore we're looking at only a period of a few months, coupled with the fact that Mudryk says it wasn't intentional, it was contaminated, it was something that he didn't realise was in his system or intended to take, and that might lead to mitigating circumstances. So the athletes that you mention are useful to provide us with a sliding scale of different severities of punishments, and if Mudryk is successful in either arguing he's innocent or arguing there are mitigating circumstances, then the punishment might be on the lower end of that scale. But of course, if it follows the Pogba suit, then originally it could be as much as a 4-year ban, which was obviously calling into question his Chelsea future.
Hi, Ben. Good to see you. I just wanted to ask on the finances of this, because obviously Chelsea have amortised transfer fees very well. And obviously Mudryk signed a long-term contract in January a couple of years ago. And what does that look like in terms of the offset of finances on his wages and also on the transfer fee if this goes wrong?
The amortization isn't necessarily a factor because that's for book purposes. What's more important is ultimately how much more money do they owe Shakhtar and how much have they paid up front, and then would they, in a worst case scenario, look to seek some kind of compensation. And there's precedent here. Remember with Mutu, Chelsea sued the player and that is a way of potentially getting compensation. But we're nowhere near that point at this stage because it's working on the presumption of guilt. So Chelsea are supporting Mudryk. They believe categorically that he is innocent and that this contaminated substance got into his system by accident, and therefore they're not thinking about his future or how they can claw back the finances. They're looking at how they can support him. Now, if we get to the point where, because of this, it was hypothetically in a doomsday scenario to end between Mudryk and Chelsea, then it's more likely that they would then have to take steps to recoup finances by agreeing a settlement with Mudryk rather than going back to Shakhtar, because once you've agreed the fee, unless it becomes known that somehow Shakhtar were aware of this practice and he was doing it before the transfer, there would be no legal means to seek compensation or not pay the full transfer fee back to Shakhtar.
And just finally, Ben, do you think we'll ever see Mikhailo Mudryk in a Chelsea shirt again?
Yeah, I think at this stage it's too early to be scaremongering around the notion that Mudryk won't play for Chelsea again. We have to let the process run its due course. And Chelsea Football Club at this point are not trying to end it with Mudryk. They're trying to support him and put this behind them. And hopefully that will be via a B sample proving to be negative, or alternatively Mudryk being able to argue his case and that there are mitigating circumstances behind this. So right now it's all about Chelsea and Mudryk working together to fight this. And this morning, Enzo Maresca addressed the first team squad and let them know formally about the situation. And now it's a case of Mudryk will be away from Cobham until this resolves itself. If there is a charge and if there is a punishment, then at that point, it is logical to presume that Mudryk might have a significant period out of the game, and therefore it could call into question his Chelsea future. But right now, Chelsea are not thinking about the long-term ban. They're thinking of ways that they can actually resolve this, prove Mudryk's innocence, which is what he argues categorically, and then move on from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, thank you so much. That was brilliant. I mean, good to find out where we are and sort of where we're at with this situation. But it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on and updating us all. You've been brilliant.
Thanks, guys.
Let's now get to the talking points on the pitch, shall we?
Yes, please. That's why we're
that is why we're here. And it was another win.
Yes.
It's just like another. That's what it feels like at the moment. Just first of all, let's do it before we get into specifics on the Brentford game. This is a team that we've beaten once since they came up. In the Premier League, and it came away from home. We hadn't beaten them at Stamford Bridge, which blows my mind. But in the situation we're in, Jace, this came. You can't underestimate how big of a win that actually was.
No, and also on the back of the fact that the day before, Liverpool dropped points, Arsenal dropped points, and before we played, City dropped points. So the teams in and around us. Forest, they're only flying the ointment.
Can you believe we're actually talking about this?
No, I can't.
Liverpool dropping points, City dropping points, and we're like...
Look, we'll have the conversation, right? Everyone asks me, everyone keeps saying to me...
Are you in the title?
Are you in the title? Are you in the title race? You know, everyone keeps asking that, right? And it's amazing because it wasn't that long ago, less than 12 months ago, people are talking about Chelsea, one of the worst run clubs in the country. Now, all of a sudden, they expect to answer that with a straight face.